going to be given to you.
Learn to work harder on yourself than you do on your job.
Talent without work is nothing, and work without talent is nothing.
At the end of the day, it's about heart, it's about grit, it's about wanting to be out there.
You don't have to feel good about it, you just have to keep going. The feeling will pass, but you will remain. You are greater than your feelings. Going to bed late and waking up early to work for a few days won't kill you. You're not going to burn out. You're doing what it takes.
I'm going to fucking war now, man. I'm going to war every day of my life because I want to be fucking great.
Forget about anything that you can think of. You need to love pain to be an athlete.
You can't shortchange yourself. Like you're not cheating anybody but yourself.
You want to discipline yourself so you can get yourself organized so that you can go in a particular direction, so that when you find the right direction, you can really go in that direction.
The discipline is the most difficult thing, not only in the sports, but in the life.
What could you do to make sure that you were a failure? You have to make sure that you're inconsistent. If you are consistent, you still might be successful.
For things to change for you, you've got to change. Otherwise, it isn't going to change.
Be the guy who embraces the ugly, the miserable. Be the guy who embraces hard work, the grind. Don't be afraid of being hurt. Don't be afraid of sacrificing some blood.
Magic you're looking for is in the work you're avoiding all the time, every single time.
Nothing is permanent. Nothing is permanent. And a lot of times you have to learn to perform without motivation. You have to learn to perform without purpose. You have to learn to perform a lot of different things. And that's what people think. They think I need to have this motivation.
I see a lot of players take vacations with other players that are close friends. And just take vacations just to take vacations, or just hang out just to hang out. Like I never did that.
And often people won't specify their goals too because they don't like to specify conditions for failure. So if you keep yourself all vague and foggy, which is real easy because that's just a matter of not doing as well, then you don't know when you fail. And people might say, well, I really don't want to know when I fail because that's painful. So I'll keep myself blind about when I fail. That's fine, except you'll fail all the time then. You just won't know it until you've failed so badly that you're done. And that can easily happen by the time you're 40. So I would recommend that you don't let that happen.
We don't rise to the standards we have when others are watching. We fall to the standards we have when no one is watching. The only work that really matters is the work that no one sees. It shows you who you really are rather than who you say you are. You don't become confident by shouting affirmations in the mirror, but by having a stack of undeniable proof that you are who you say you are. Outwork your self-doubt.
Yes. You can't leave any stone unturned.
I give you the map. You are willing to do that?
It's like the best way to guarantee to not have the life that you want is to do what everyone else is doing. Unless you want what everyone else has, which no one does. Everyone sucks. Like, so many people are mediocre. Like, half of the United States is in debt. They don't even have they're negative net worth. And so, like, just saying different than that, like, the bar isn't high. If everybody who's like at the bottom and feels like they have nothing going for them, reframe that as, I have nothing going for me, which also means that I have nothing to lose by taking action, it makes you a much more dangerous person. You can move through life at 7 times the rate of other people by simply changing when you say you're going to make a decision from end of week to end of day. If the normal person takes a week to make the decision and then their mind moves on to the next thing that they have anxiety for and start making that decision and decide another week, decide another week, decide another week, it's a month to make those 4 decisions. Whereas the Superman that takes one decision day 1, second decision day 2, third decision day 3, fourth decision day 4, they aren't even finished the week yet, and they're where the other person is at the end of the month. And like, that speed of decision making, like not paying the attention cost, the opportunity cost of your time. People are like, how is that guy so young and he's achieved X, Y, and Z? It's like, well, what takes you a month to make a decision, we make it an hour. And then the next hour, I make another decision that takes a year next month. And so like, that's how you can go 30 times or 100 times faster than the quote average person who's overweight, has $1,000 in their bank account, and is going to die at 70. I think that everyone has a personal brand that is unique and different, but everyone doesn't look that way because they conform to what they think everyone else wants them to look like. And so The fact that they are boring and they resent the fact that they're boring is because they are living out reflections of what they think everyone else wants them to do. And so all you have to do is start at square zero and be like, what do I want? Why not? And this is exactly like the hater who says, you're not going to amount to anything. And the reason that it hurts is because you're like, what if they're right? And then you're like staring at the mirror with that question of like, what if they're right? What if I am out of shape? What, like, because the thing is that like, in order to be the top quote 1% or even the top 10%, shoot, or even just above average, right? You just need to not be overweight. You need to be gainfully employed. You accept outcomes and you accept circumstances. You accept the fact that you were dealt whatever hand you were dealt. You accept that you're 5'8". You accept that you're black. You accept that you're a woman. That's accepting. You trying to rebel against that is you trying to fight the universe, and the universe is going to win every time. But in terms of you framing acceptance as saying that I am comfortable with who I am and I cannot be better and I must be satisfied with that, is the biggest embodiment of failure that I can imagine. There's a difference between saying I am good enough and I am good. So you could say I am good enough for my current state based on the work that I've put into it, but I could be better. You can accept that the work that you have done has created the outcome that you've created, but you do not need to accept that the outcome that you've created is the end all be all and the last outcome that you need to have. I don't deserve to be that man, but I can still do the things that can create it. And that also means that I have to go through the circumstances that would create that man, which means that if I have unbelievable big dreams and big goals, then I have to go through hard times. And so in the beginning, if you don't have money, the only thing you have is time. And so that is the only thing it's the only currency you can spend to improve yourself or get closer to your goals. And so if that's the one currency you have, then why on earth would you give it away? Most goals are attainable if you expand the time horizon, even enormous ones. You can define commitment by eliminating alternatives. So if you're committed, you've eliminated alternative actions. Right? Like you can say I'm committed, but until you eliminate other options, you're not committed. If there was a big meta indicator that you're doing the right thing, doing what everyone isn't doing is already probably the single biggest indicator that you're doing the right thing. Every single person who wants to do something with their life and has done something with their life has gone through the exact chapter that you're going through. And it's the lonely chapter. It's the chapter where you don't fit in with your own friends, but you don't have the outcomes yet to fit into a new group of friends. And you're doing this thing, you're consuming content on the internet, you're doing these free tutorials online to try and figure out how to set up a podcast and where do I host this thing? And then you're going through this and you're like, is this even worth it? Because you have no signs of success. If it's the first time you're going through it, you can't recognize the signs because you don't have anything to compare it to. When you continue down that path, it happens slower than you expect and then faster than you can imagine. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the part that everyone misses is they expect the faster than they can imagine and they imagine really big. And so then their expectations are really big, really fast, but they take the intensity and they don't apply it to a timeline that's appropriate. Difference between winners and losers. Winners define themselves by what they made happen, and losers define themselves by what happened to them. And the difficult part of the lonely chapter is that the Rocky cutscene lasts 90 seconds in the movie and lasts 5 years in reality. The point of the game is to keep the game going. It's the only objective. But the competitor whose objective is to continue to play can't be beaten because by playing he wins. They want this magic pill. They want to know the secret, but there is no secret. It's just hard work. Everyone who's listening lacks is the context on how hard work is, not in that it's complex, but just in that it's a continuous and unending focus on one thing and noticing the details that separate mediocrity from greatness. People say, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. False. Said if I dehydrate the horse, I salt its mouth, I put it in the heat, and I put its face 1 inch away from water, I can veritably guarantee that it will drink. Measure in hundreds of hours. How many hundreds of hours have you put towards something? If you do that, I promise you the thing that you're making will get a lot better. And you'll also see how much more you're capable of. I have this process for creating presentations. I make the thing, I do the thing in my head, I do it out loud, I watch the recording, I edit the thing, I do it in my head, I do it out loud, I watch the recording, I edit the thing, and I just keep doing it until it's glass. It takes watching 10 hours of you presenting and then taking notes at every time that you say or that a transition between slides is unclean, or that the audience kind of gets lost there because I can see that there's no reactions to that, I should probably add a visual there. It's like you just put another coat of paint on the skill set or the achievement that you're working towards. And most people expect that the pencil wireframe that they do on their first shot is hard work because that's the hardest they've worked, not the amount of hard work that is required in order to get the level of outcome that they say they want or that they expect. And the business never works until it's the one that does. And the episode doesn't take off except for the one that does. And whether it's 10 or 10,000, eventually one does, because when you do more, you get better at doing. And then the discipline comes down to saying, what are the 2 or 3 things that I can be really good at in my life? Because it will take me 5 to 7 years to be exceptional at this one thing. Actually give yourself the reality glasses, not the woe is me glasses, but think, no, really, if I had to do this, what are all of the things that I would have to improve? Then you see how incredibly long that list is. And then you take this deep breath, and that list is the hard work. It's starting at the top and then wanting to cross the first one off after your first day, but then realizing you still haven't done it well enough to cross it off. And you're like, wait, I have to do another day and I still haven't, quote, made a dent in this list. And then you do it another day and a third day and a fifth day and a fifth week. And then all of a sudden you're like, okay, I think I've got the first one done. And then you still look at this list, but along the way of doing that first one, you realize 20 other things that you could add to that list. The path gets lit of where you're going to go because you're so singularly focused and you know you have no other distractions. The attention cost you're not paying that down anymore. And you're just like, how many times can I repeat this effort? And then that's when you start unlocking mastery. Hard work is the goal. Because as soon as you get great at one thing, you realize just the tremendous amount of hours and work that it takes to be great at one thing. And then there's this oh shit moment that I can express personally, which is you realize that there's so few things that you can be great at. The more times you do what is required to get what you want, the more times you get what you want. The bigger your goal, the bigger your timeline has to be. But the even crazier thing is that the bigger your timeline, the easier it is. And so all of a sudden, the goals that you have can be significantly more achievable, and you can feel like you're consistently making progress by moving out your timeline. But because people are so short-term minded, because they can't just stop scrolling over and over again, they actually make it harder for them to achieve their goals because the only goals that they deem acceptable are ones that are on an unrealistic timeline. And so they doom themselves from the beginning. Do you work smart or do you work hard? It's you do both. You do as many reps as you possibly can. The only way you get skilled is by doing more inputs, by working more. And so the minimum standard for how much work I know I can do on something has multiplied 100-fold. It's never been easier to get in muscle than it was 10 years ago. It's never been easier to make money than it was 10 years ago, but it'll also never be easier than it is right now. It'll only get harder. And so that's actually like a pretty strong impetus to do it now. It'll literally never get easier. Waiting to begin never got anyone anywhere. In 4 generations, no one will remember your name. What could you do to make sure that you were a failure? You have to make sure that you're inconsistent. If you are consistent, you still might be successful. You can boil it down to inputs. You just have to do more. A reminder that the life that I'm living today is a result of the work that I did 6 and 12 months ago. And so if you were to look at my calendar 6 and 12 months ago, then you might extrapolate out to what I'm doing today. And that's the never-ending cycle of excellence.
You have to want it. You have to want to be better. And it starts off with you have to have pride in yourself. You have to have pride in yourself. You have to have, there's something about you, whether it's your last name, whether it's just the smallest thing, you have to be proud of yourself. And if you have no pride in yourself, I can't give it to you.
And if you look at life as it is a trial ground, a testing ground for where you need to belong, where you need to go, suffering is a fact of life. And if you look at suffering the right way, it's a great tool to callous your mind. If you look at it as suffering, woe is me, this is bullshit, God, kicking rocks. If you look at it like, okay, motherfucker, you're testing me now. I get it. Whenever I'm being like depressed, I go through depressed moments, I go, oh, hang on. I'm getting tested. There's so many times in life you don't want to be doing what the fuck you're doing. You can't just fucking quit. Remember this isn't a hobby, this isn't a fucking joke, it's a fucking lifestyle. So what you say to yourself is important. There's no fucking coach, there's no trainer to keep you going, it's only you. So it's all about that mindset of how hard you want to go. It's never enough. There's zero finish line. I always thought that I was giving 100%. I wasn't. But I was only 1% from making that money, from being where I want to be, from having everything in life that I've ever dreamed of. But it's that 1% that we sleep on. It's that 1% that we wake up in that morning and we're like, you know what? Not today. Maybe tomorrow. Well, guess what? That's why it's so easy to be great nowadays, because most motherfuckers are weak. And if all you do is when you are trying to hit that motherfucking snooze button on life, not in the morning, on life, just know this. All the fuck it takes is thinking about all those weak motherfuckers who are taking a day off. And trust me, you will come up real fast. When you're fat, and you're not where you want to be, and you're not successful, those demons won that very conversation. You gotta make sure that when you go to bed at night, you're net positive. When I wake up, sometimes I feel like a little bitch. But what I do is I have a little tape recorder. And I tape record exactly how I'm feeling on that motherfucker. And then I play it back. That's a bad fucking tape recorder, dude. Tape record yourself in those bad moments. Listen to yourself. Listen how weak and pathetic it sounds. And if you tape record yourself and you play that for one of your friends, will that get them off the couch? Or will that make them want to fucking sit on there longer? That will not make you a winner or succeed at anything. You have to fight those urges to just say, I'm good today. This is all about the quitting mind. So what's the quitting mind? So let's say it's day one of a job interview. We all know what that fucking shit feels like. You have your clothes laid out, you got your fucking food ready to go in the morning, you've been preparing for weeks and weeks and weeks. You show up and you bring your best self. You get the fucking job. Merry fucking Christmas. All right. After a couple months, you start showing up to work a little later. You don't look as good. Your clothes aren't fucking laid out. Your breakfast isn't ready. Your mind's getting softer. We do that shit with everything in life.
When you're out there and it's like 20 degrees and you're freezing your ass off and you're thinking, you know what? I don't need to be here anymore. And you start questioning yourself why you're here. Then there's a lot of growth in that. You gotta wake up and think about, there's a process to getting better. And that process is never finished. Because I'll tell you right now, the second you start living civilized, it's over. It's fucking over. You wanna keep that savage as long as you can. So you gotta go on that witch hunt to find whatever it is that makes you tick. And whenever that tick goes away, you gotta find another thing that makes you tick. A lot of people sit back and they dream about being a sports figure, or dream about being a SEAL, or dream about being an astronaut, and all it is a motherfucking dream. They don't put the work behind the dream. That dream has become their fucking master. When you become the master of your fucking dream is when you say, I want to go be a Navy SEAL, and you say, okay, I'm gonna lose 106 pounds in less than 3 fucking months. The dream was the one thing I thought about, and the dream was now gone. Now, what comes in, the dream goes away, and the fucking laundry list of fucking details and tasks come up. Gotta do this, gotta do this, gotta do this, gotta do this. That's when you become the master of your dream. And some of these motivational people out here, it's the funniest thing in the world to me. They'll go,
a lot of you are trying to find inspiration and motivation with a depressed mindset. You're depressed because you're not doing shit with yourself. You don't find inspiration by not living in the grip of life. You need to live in the grip of life to find inspiration. Put challenges in front of yourself. When you put a challenge in front of yourself and you attack it, that's when you find inspiration. Try to be 10% better than you were last week.
So if you're running 30 miles a week, run 33. If you're swimming 500 meters, swim 550. If some of you aren't doing shit, your 10% is just getting off the fucking couch. The more you walk away from accountability, the weaker you become. Find yourself in the grip of life. You can't find yourself by doing nothing. Sometimes there is a way to get out. So a lot of times we are the team to get us in and to get us out. So we are the only access. We have to save ourselves. So a lot of people can take one more step, but they choose not to. I don't know if you can take 2 steps. You got to answer that question after you take the first step. But I can always take one more step. So if I choose not to, that's on me. And I got to live with that. Try one more time. So this is what happens. Every day, I wake up out of my fucking bed, and there's my shoes, my shirt, my shorts, depending on the weather. There's some days I fucking wake up, and I just look at the motherfuckers for hours. And then I start walking around the fucking house. And I say, I don't even fucking run today. I'm not doing shit today. Nothing. I don't have to. I fucking did all that shit. I don't need all this shit. I went through all these hell weeks and fucking got my ass kicked all the time and fucking made it. What am I doing this shit for? And that's when I think. This ain't about your fucking ranger schools and getting beat as a kid and shit. You have an obligation, not to yourself, but to everybody out there that is touched by what you do as a human being. While nobody knows what I'm doing, no one is videoing me and shit, I am a virtual trainer mentally, because there's a lot of people out there say, man, David Goggins is fucking getting after it today. And if I wake up one morning and don't fucking do that, I go back to that David Goggins who lied about being who he wanted to be. But be tough. You better have a part about you that's tough, a part about you that can break down situations and get better. Because this world we live in is tough. It's tough. It will beat you down. The world and the life that we live in is the ultimate competitor. It will try to take you out. It will find your weakness and it will fucking just hammer you. So a lot of people talk about discipline. Okay, great. Why do you fall off the fucking wagon? Why can't I continue with this routine? Going to the gym, being better, waking up early, eating the right foods. Get back to fucking work. It's time to get back to work. Stop hearing yourself talk. Get off the podcast. Don't be on social media too much. Cut out all the fucking noise. Get back to the fucking mental lab. Mental hardening, mental toughness, it's a perishable skill. Just because you went through some training once and you got through it, doesn't mean it lasts fucking forever. You don't just say, oh, I got it, I'm checked off, I'm good for the rest of my life. That's why you have recall. You recall on fucking everything. And you definitely must recall when it comes to the mind. What do you want to be in life? And once you do that, now you can work with somebody to get better. You can work with yourself to get better. But until you know what you want to stand for, you will always just be sitting down. You'll never stand for anything. Think about how many years, months, hours, seconds, days, all that shit you have wasted on people who suck the fucking life out of you. Today's a good day for you to go through and shit can those motherfuckers. Shit can those motherfuckers who only call you when they fucking need something. Shit can those motherfuckers who can't get over shit, who continue to bring up shit from the past, who can't move forward. Life is short. Life is precious. Spend that time with the people you love, the people you want to give that time to. Real friends, real family. Everybody else, they're just sucking up the air you breathe. You need that motherfucker to be hard. Stay hard. That's the only thing you can practice for the unchosen suffering, is that chosen suffering. Do something that sucks every day, that extra mile. Most people don't want to find that extra because it sucks. It's miserable. It's lonely.
The discipline is the most difficult thing, not only in sports, but in life. The difficult of things that you pass through in your life make you be stronger mentally to challenge a hard life. I moved with 11 years old from Madeira to Lisbon, which is, it's hard, to be honest. It's probably was the most difficult part in terms of professional of my career. So it was hard to left my family in Madeira to follow my dream in Lisbon without your family, with 11 years old. Talent without work is nothing, and work without talent is nothing.
Just doing it every day.
Yes, every day.
Do you ever wake up and you say, I don't want to do it today?
I fight against my mind. Yes, sometimes it's happened. We are all human beings. We are not happy every day. We are, not in a good mood every day. It's normal. It's part of us.
What do you do to overcome that?
I fight against that. It's the big challenge. It's when you're not willing to do something, but you have to do it. This is the main point. This is why I say our mind, it's a box of surprises, and you have to challenge yourself to be consistent. Sometimes it's hard. It's what many people say, you like to go to the gym every day. Of course no. It's not true. Nobody likes to go to the gym every day. But you have to do it. Because you cannot be yourself 100%. Your mental strength is coming from that moments that in a hard moments, you should do it. After that, maybe in the beginning you feel hard to start, but after when you finish the gym or cold plunge or even the training, you will feel better. I think I'm good, but I think my main strength, it's my mind. I think it's my strongest point, it's my mind. The numbers, they don't lie. If you see during the last 15 years, my level is always kind of the same. So effort, dedication, work hard, because the talent is not enough anymore. And if you're not dedicated 100%, you're not gonna reach the level that you want. For example, you arrive home, you had a lunch, you do it a quick nap, and you wake up, you play with your kids, and I have to go to the gym at least 30, 40 minutes, but this will make the difference in the end of the day, you understand? If you not do it that work, you miss one. The next day, it's 2 sessions that you lost, and I know in the end of the day, in the end, they're gonna make a huge difference. Small details in the end of the day will make the big difference, in my opinion. So, as you say, and I will keep repeat, the consistency is the most difficult thing. Life is a box of surprises, and it's hard, It's not easy, to be in this level and still push and still motivate to carry on, to score goals, to be in a good shape, to compete with the young lions. They coming, and when they play against me, they want to show me that they are stronger than me and faster than me. You have to prepare very well, not in terms of physically, but mentally too. I think it's very hard, but in the same way, it's a challenge. In my mind, I'm always the best. I don't care what the people thinking, what they say. In my mind, not just this year, but always, I'm always the best. I'm always going to say that, because I think we have to thinking we are the best in our area. So in my area, I think I'm the best. Part of my sacrifice, my obsession to win, to have success. When I say success, it's I work for that. Talent is not enough. I dedicate myself so much that this is part of me. Records is part of me. I don't follow the records. The records follow me, which is different. This is giving me motivation to still work hard and better. I'm addicted to the success. And I do that, and I continue to do that. For me, it's a big achievement, and my biggest motivation is to carry on, to still enjoy, to make people happy, to make my family happy. So for me, I have both talent and work ethic. It's a challenge, because as you can see, if you treat good your body, you can maintain so many years, and this is the big challenge for me. No, it's really tough. not only in a football, but in any area. If you are top for 20 years, is unbelievable. And I do that, and I continue to do that. For me, it's a big achievement, and my biggest motivation is to carry on, to still enjoy, to make people happy, to make my family happy. I think the numbers, they say everything. I don't need to say, I'm a minister of football, I'm a legend. The numbers say everything. Right now, it's a normal day in office, as you say. Sometimes. It's my whole career. For the last 20 years, my level was high. Everyone wants to be Cristiano, but I give you the map. You think you will do it that? It's difficult. It's the main point. But I have to say, to be in my shoes is not easy.
What could you do to improve yourself? Well, let's step one step backwards. The first question might be, why should you even bother improving yourself?
Well, one of the really difficult things to learn when you're down and out is how far you're down, because it's humiliating.
If you don't organize yourself properly, you'll pay for it, and in a big way, and so will the people around you. Now, and you could say, well, I don't care about that, but that's actually not true. You actually do care about that, because if you're in pain, you will care about it. It's very rare that you can find someone who's in excruciating pain who would ever say, well, it would be no better if I was out of this. You get your act together so that there isn't any more stupid pain around you than necessary.
The rule, it's a pretty straightforward rule when you want to get back on your feet, and the rule is you have to make the task small enough so that you'll do it, no matter how small that is.
Look around for something that bothers you and see if you can fix it. Fix the things you repeat every day, because people tend to think of those as trivial. Well, those probably constitute 50% of your life. And people think, well, they're mundane, I don't need to pay attention to them. It's like, no, that's exactly wrong. The things you do every day, those are the most important things you do.
When people are very down and out and they decide to make a move forward, in some ways they're facing the whole panoply of problems that confront them in the guise of that single problem, right? It's all lurking behind it, right? It's like, they see the tip of a reptile's tail outside a gigantic closet, let's say, and they look and they think, well, that's just the tip of a tail. What harm can it do me? But it's connected to the whole damn beast. And the advantage to that is that if you make that first step forward, you're actually advancing in the face of all that opposition. The disadvantage is that the first task seems so small that you literally have to be on your knees to be humble enough to lower yourself to take that first step. God, is that all I can do? I'm so useless. That can be pretty humiliating. Now, the upside is that once you take that first step, you've looked the beast in the face, and you'll start progressing, not linearly, but exponentially in speed. So what's cool is that it doesn't really matter how small that first step is, because it'll start doubling, and anything that doubles grows unbelievably quickly. And so that's a very useful thing to know too. And that's true when you're learning anything new. It's like you'll feel like an imposter, you'll feel like a fool, because you are, and you'll think, I'll never get there, and it might be, the destination might look very distant, but if you take a sufficiently small first step and get the ball rolling, you can be cruising along at a pretty good rate, generally faster than you'll think. One way to increase the probability that things will unfold for you properly is to not lie. Just stop lying. Period. Stop saying things you believe to be untrue. Stop doing things you know to be wrong. Just start with that. You'll get closer and closer to the truth, and the truth is the adventure of life. That's the advantage to the truth. You have the world on your side. But obviously, because if you're lying about things, you're opposing reality. Who are you? Who are you to oppose reality? Good luck. Oh, that's pretty bad too. The friend who stabs you in the back, the person who betrays you, Judas. God, maybe that's the ultimate snake. It's like, well, how about when you betray yourself? Oh yeah, everybody knows this. They feel bad when they They decide they're going to get themselves in good shape and go to the gym, and lasts like 3 months, and then no one's happy about the fact that they quit, and they berate themselves for it. And we know that we need to go through a disciplinary process, and we need to subjugate ourselves to a disciplinary process. Aim yourself in one direction.
Once you've got your mind and your emotions together, and once you're acting that out, then you can extend what you're willing to consider yourself and start fixing up the things that are part of your broader extent. Your mind is a very strange thing. As soon as you give it an aim, a genuine aim, it'll reconfigure the world in keeping with that aim. That's actually how you see to begin with. And so if you set it a task, especially, you have to be genuine about it, which is why you have to bring your thoughts and emotions together, and then you have to get them in your body so you're acting consistently. You have to be genuine about the aim, but once you aim, the world will reconfigure itself around that aim, which is very strange. I'll tell you what it is that you need to do to be successful. Set up some aims for yourself, goals that you actually value. You know, if you could have your life the way you wanted it in 3 to 5 years, if you were taking care of yourself properly, you know, what would you want from your friendships? What would you want from your intimate relationship? How would you like to structure your family? What do you want for your career? Well, how are you going to use your time outside of your job? And how are you going to regulate your mental and physical health? And you develop a vision of what you would like your life to be. Do is you specify your long-term ideal. Maybe you also specify a place you want to stay the hell away from, so that you're terrified to fail as well as excited about succeeding. But once the goal is established, and then you break down the goal into micro processes that you can implement, the micro processes become rewarding in proportion in relation to their causal association with the goal. And that tangles in your incentive reward system. And the way it works is that it works better if it produces positive emotion when it can see you moving towards a valued goal. Better have a valued goal, because otherwise you can't get any positive motivation. And often people won't specify their goals too, because they don't like to specify conditions for failure. So if you keep yourself all vague and foggy, which is real easy, because that's just a matter of not doing as well, then you don't know when you fail. And people might say, well, I really don't want to know when I fail because that's painful. So I'll keep myself blind about when I fail. That's fine, except you'll fail all the time then. You just won't know it until you've failed so badly that you're done. And that can easily happen by the time you're 40. So I would recommend that you don't let that happen. You could have known, but you chose not to. And specify your damn goals, because how are you going to hit something if you don't know what it is? That isn't going to happen. Make a damn schedule and stick to it. It's not a bloody prison. That's the first thing that people do wrong. They say, well, I don't like to follow a schedule. Well, it's like, well, what kind of schedule are you setting up? Well, I have to do this, then I have to do this, then I have to do this, you know, and then I just go play video games, because who wants to do all these things that I have to do? It's like, wrong. Set the damn schedule up so that you have the day you want. That's the trick. It's like, okay, I've got tomorrow. If I was going to set it up so it was the best possible day I could have, practically speaking, what would it look like? Well, then you schedule that. And obviously there's a bit of responsibility that's going to go along with that, because if you have any sense, one of the things that you're going to insist upon is that at the end of the day, you're not in worse shape than you were than at the beginning of the day, right? Because that's a stupid day. If you have a bunch of those in a row, you just dig yourself a hole and then you bury yourself in it. It's like, sorry, that's just not a good strategy. It's a bad strategy.
The first thing to do is open it, and then maybe to figure out how to put in a task and then a repeating task. And might be a pretty simple one to begin with. It's like, well, why don't you list waking up and specify a time, or going to bed and specifying a time, an approximate time anyways, or put in the schedule when you eat. So then you think, well, that means I'm forcing myself to do them. It's not that. It's that now you're allowing yourself time to do them, right? So the schedule becomes a means of you getting what you want, instead of an external jailer who punishes you every time you deviate from requirement. So you have to make friends with the schedule, and the schedule has to be your friend. It should work for you and not against you. You're not generating an external tyrant. You know, not only do you know what you're doing, you know that what you're doing is moving you towards something you want, and that's rewarding. And having your time structured like that and attaining those goals is pleasurable and anxiety reducing. So, you know, that's a pretty good deal, all things considered. And you can start stupid and slow. Like I said, just throw some things in that you're pretty likely to do, and fill in the schedule with broad strokes. And then as you get familiar with it and comfortable with it and maybe even happy with it, you can fill in the details and start to use it in a more sophisticated way. You know, you have to negotiate with yourself and figure out what the largest step you would take towards your goal is that you would take. And if you don't do it, then you make the step smaller and smaller until you find something that you would do. We're all adapted to some degree to the failure of induction, right? Just because something happened multiple times in the past does not mean necessarily that it will happen the next time. At some point, you have to act like you're already there when you're just barely started. Purification requires heat and pressure. And so you have a container and it gets hot. And that's when you want to leave. That's when the changes can take place. It also makes you disciplined, and once you're disciplined, like you're like a sharpened sword, man, like a well-tempered blade, and then you can go out there and operate in the world.
That's what life is about. And if you don't have any of those things, well, then all you've got left is misery and suffering. So that's a bad deal for you.
A friendly reminder that in 3 generations, everyone who knew us will be dead, including the people whose opinions stopped you from doing what you wanted all along. Imagine that someone you know achieves every dream and hits every goal they have. Years later, they get old and die. 2 years after that, how much do you care? About as much as everyone else will if you accomplish your goals and dreams. Do it for you. You don't have to feel good about it. You just have to keep going. The feeling will pass, but you will remain. You are greater than your feelings. Going to bed late and waking up early to work for a few days won't kill you. You're not going to burn out. You're doing what it takes. Your time is being captured and your attention is being captured by a thought that could have been gotten rid of had you have just done it, had you have just had the conversation, broken up with the relationship, left the job, told the father, whatever. Done your stretches, cleaned your teeth, had a shower, whatever it is that you needed to do. All of that anxiety cost could have been gotten rid of had you just gone and done it. When you have an unmade decision, every single second that you spend thinking about the unmade decision could have been gotten back had you just made the decision. The heaviest things in life aren't iron and gold, but unmade decisions. The reason you are stressed is that you have decisions to make and you're not making them. You're not afraid of failing. You're afraid of what other people will think of you if you fail. But if you're afraid of that, imagine what they think of you when you aren't even trying. Oh yeah, they aren't. Regrets are an unavoidable part of being a human, and they're a byproduct of opportunity cost, which you can't get away from. But what does it mean that you have to choose your regrets? Okay. Well, if regrets are inevitable, if they're going to happen no matter what, an easy way to look at a decision is, rather than which do I want to do, which regret could I live with? Because if you only take action when things cross a certain threshold of badness, sometimes better things can feel worse than worse things.
Oh yeah.
So if you look around and you see that people are stuck in region beta, this zone of comfortable complacency, right? It's the guy that sticks in his just okay job because his boss isn't too much of a dick, but the pay isn't that good and he's not really that passionate, but it's all right, whatever. The person that stays in the acceptable relationship, they're not that fired up, but they're not really in love and their partner's not really got much alignment with their interests. Or the person that stays in a crappy apartment and there's a bit of mold in the ceiling, but it's cheap and it's in a good area of town or whatever. All of these people would be better off if their situations were worse, because it would give them the activation energy to kick them out of the bottom, and their only regret would be not doing it sooner. There are certain regrets that you can't bear living with. Now, you can bear living with them, but they're going to be worse than other ones. So what is the difference between I need to have a difficult decision, I need to have a difficult conversation with my boss about leaving to go and do this thing, or sitting down and seeing them face to face and telling them you're going to leave their small mom and pop business and you're the main salesperson and it's going to be terrible and they're going to cry and you're going to feel like a piece of shit. That's one regret. Another regret is looking back at a decade that you waste in a job that you fucking hate. So in life, you have to choose your regrets. What you're doing is you're trying to optimize right now to stop the discomfort.
That's right.
But what you're going to pay for that in is shame and guilt and regret long term.
That's right.
So what you need to be able to do is bundle all of that up that is as yet unfelt, but will last for way, way, way longer. You know, the future is much longer than now.
That's right.
The future is going to extend out up until the day that you die. And the now is just for now. And you get to look back. And do you look back with pride and glory? Or do you look back with shame and guilt? True hell is when the person that you are meets the person that you could have been. It just takes work. Shitloads and shitloads of work. Every time I try and dress it up or cut a corner, I get brutally reminded the work just needs doing. The work doesn't care who you are. It just cares that it gets done. Instead of spending time getting in the mood to work, just start working. Confront the work. People think they need perfect conditions to start, when in reality, starting is the perfect condition. Nothing is going to be worthwhile that doesn't come with an associated amount of discomfort. Therefore, when you start to feel friends around you and the people that you used to be able to speak a common language with start to push back and start to make the quips of, oh, not drinking tonight, yeah? Oh, you must be too cool for us now. I know it hurts. I know it hurts. That is the lead indicator, not even the lagging indicator. That is the lead indicator that you are doing the right thing. On balance, people are driven way more by fear of insufficiency than they are with some well-balanced, perfect desire to just maximize their greatness in life. Like the activation energy for almost everybody is, I'm scared I might be a piece of shit. What? Hang on. Oh God, I might be a piece of shit. I genuinely might be a piece of shit. I need to go and do something so outrageous that I can't be a piece of shit. There's no way that it could happen. I might be a coward. Oh my God, what can I do to stop myself from being a coward? That's the activation energy. It's the feeling of loneliness and uncertainty. Hang on, what if this is a sign that I'm not supposed to be here? Right. What if this is a sign that I'm doing it wrong?
Right.
Even the bad times are romanticized. And they're not fucking romantic. Like, it feels like hell. It feels like shit to do the thing, to fail, to not feel like anybody cares about you, to not even know that there's going to be glory in retrospect.
Yeah.
It feels despondent and destitute and sad and alone. If you do the thing, in spite of being fearful of doing the thing, that is courage. And if you don't do the thing, even though you felt like doing the thing, that is cowardice. The opportunity to commit yourself fully to something that you care about is beyond a blessing. And when you do it, the way that you feel once you know that you've worked hard is great. The biggest risk to your future isn't your competition. It's the distractions you insist on keeping in your life rather than doing the things you know you should be doing but aren't. People delay doing things they don't like for longer than it takes to do them. Work as hard as you can at one thing for a year and see what happens. But everybody has the opportunity to do that. You just need to define what the thing is. The bar is so low. The bar is so unbelievably low. The bar has never been set lower to separate yourself out from the pack. Never been set lower. Self-love is holding yourself to a higher standard than anyone else does. You believing in you more than anybody else does is such a first principles way of looking at self-love. Okay, so I'm supposed to love myself. I'm supposed to support myself and be my biggest fan. But I don't have the most belief in me. So I'm supposed to have self-love, but I cap my own potential. Heroes and villains always have the same backstory, pain. The difference is what they choose to do about it. Villain says, the world hurt me, I'll hurt it back. The hero says, the world hurt me, I'm not going to let it hurt anybody else. Heroes use pain, villains are used by it. Modern men who are angry at a world they feel has rejected them mistakenly believe that they would have somehow done better in medieval times. They are adamant that the chance of them being Genghis Khan is greater than the chance of them being cannon fodder peasant number 1,373,000 whose favela was sacked and destroyed.
And it's this wistfulness for the past. And dude, I get it. Like, if you feel lost and alone and like nobody understands you and like you've been forgotten and things shouldn't be this way, guess what? They've always been this way. And right now, the bar has never been set lower.
And the thing is that you can actually achieve a lot of success in life by avoiding failure. Like, most success in life actually is avoiding failure. Yes, you need to be able to be competent, but first you need to not get out of the race. Projecting yourself forward to see what are the consequences of failing, what are the consequences of stopping, is about as powerful of a motivation strategy as I can think of.
The difference between being nervous and being excited before you do something is your level of preparation in advance of it. If you step out on stage in front of 500,000 people and you've done absolutely everything, there's nothing to fear.
We don't rise to the standards we have when others are watching. We fall to the standards we have when no one is watching. The only work that really matters is the work that no one sees. It shows you who you really are rather than who you say you are.
The more I listen to this, the better my life gets. If they don't have what you want, don't listen to what they say. There's no greater waste of time than justifying your actions to people who have a life you don't want. Success is the only revenge. As you expand, they shrink into irrelevance. As you get louder, no one can hear them. You don't beat them, you cast a shadow so big, no one can see them to begin with. When people copy, they copy the wrong stuff because they don't know why it worked to begin with. And when it breaks, they don't know how to fix it because they didn't build it. So don't sweat it. Copycats will always be behind.
You don't become confident by shouting affirmations in the mirror, but by having a stack of undeniable proof that you are who you say you are. Outwork your self-doubt.
Yes.
I had a purpose. I wanted to be one of the best basketball players to ever play. I made that deal with myself at 13 years old. Because a lot of the kids that I was playing against were inner city kids. Yeah. And so you're looking at me as if, okay, this kid's soft. Right? He's from the suburbs of Philadelphia. His father played in the NBA, played professionally.
He's got it easy.
Got it easy, born on second, all this other stuff, right? And so they felt like they could try to be physical or try to intimidate me and do all this other stuff, which they couldn't. One of the things I would do is while everybody would be at the cafeteria work, eating and doing all sort of stuff, I just go back to the gym. I just go back to the gym.
They'd be resting,
and they'd see me leave, right? But now you're in a tough position because you're like, okay, I want to be like, I'm following the kid to go work out, but I know he's working, he's up early and he's doing all this other stuff. And so that was my way of showing them, yeah, I may be from the suburbs, but you're not going to outwork me. 13 years old, I had a kill list. They used to do these rankings. It was Street and Smith basketball rankings. And I was nowhere to be found because I was like 6'4", scrawny, like 160 pounds soaking wet. So I was like 57 on the list. I will look at 56, 55, all the way up to number 1, who these players are, what club teams they played for. I got to hunt them down. That became my mission in high school, is to check off every other person, all those 56 other names, hunt them down and knock them down. And when I'd play to my weaknesses. There's not a lot of skill work being done. So when are you going to get better, right? When you're playing in competition situations, you're only playing to your strengths. Why? Because you want to win. Things during those games that I was weak at, left hand, pull-up jump shot, post game, right? So I have a strategy. And so then fast forward to when I'm 17 and my game is completely well-rounded, and that player at 13 that I saw at 13 is still doing the same shit at 17, now you got a problem. In the NBA, it's actually easier. In the NBA is a lot of guys played for financial stability. And when they came to the NBA, they got that financial stability. So therefore the passion and the work ethic and the obsessiveness was gone. Then you had the players that had that passion, but weren't willing to commit their entire lives to doing that. I see a lot of players take vacations with other players that are close friends. And they'll just take vacations just to take vacations, or just hang out just to hang out. Like I never did that, right? It's a choice, right? You have other things, you have family, you have all these other things that you have to do. The game can't really be your #1 priority. And at that, I'm like, oh my God, it's gonna be like taking candy from a baby. No wonder Mike wins all these fucking championships. Your job is to try to be the best basketball player you can be, right? To do that, you have to practice, you have to train, right? You wanna train as much as you can, as often as you can. So if you get up at 10 in the morning, train at 11, right? 12, say 12, train at 12, train for 2 hours, 12 to 2. You have to let your body recover. So you eat, recover, whatever. You get back out, you train, start training again at 6. Train from 6 to 8, right? And now you go home, you shower, you eat dinner, you go to bed, you wake up, you do it again, right? Those are 2 sessions. Right now, imagine you wake up at 3, you train at 4. You go 4 to 6, come home, breakfast, relax. Now you're back at it again, 9 to 11, right? You relax, and now all of a sudden you're back at it again, 2 to 4, and now you're back at it again, 7 to 9. Look how much more training I have done by simply starting at 4, right? And so now you do that, and as the years go on, the separation that you have with your competitors and your peers just grows larger and larger and larger and larger and larger. And by year 5 or 6, doesn't matter what kind of work they do in the summer, they're never going to catch up because they're 5 years behind. You're understanding that, okay, if you want to accomplish something, I'm not just going to sit here and say, yes, you can do whatever you want. Yes, you can, but you have to also put in the work to get there. If I start earlier, I can train more hours. And I know the other guys aren't doing it because I know what their training schedule is. How can I get an advantage? Oh, start earlier. I mean, every day, since, for 20 years, it was an everyday process and trying to figure out strengths and weaknesses. For example, jumping ability. Man, my vertical was a 40, it wasn't a 46 or a 45. My hands are big, but they're not massive, right? So you got to figure out ways to strengthen them so your hands are strong enough to be able to palm a ball and do the things that you need to do. Quickness, I was quick, but not insanely quick. I was fast, but not ridiculously fast, right? So I had to rely on skill a lot more. I had to rely on angles a lot more. I had to study the game a lot more. The confidence comes from preparation. So when the game's on the line, I'm not asking myself to do something that I haven't done thousands of times before, right? So when I prepare, I know what I'm capable of doing, I know what I'm comfortable doing, and I know what I'm not comfortable doing. Very tactical things in terms of footwork and geometry of the court. So you're looking at the court and looking at the 45-degree angles that the court is shaped in and how it needs to operate. That's one component to it. So looking at spots on the floor where you can increase your efficiency. Right? You can be on the wing, but there's a certain spot on the wing that improves your angle to drive to the basket. Footwork of the opposition, looking at the emotion of the opposition, their tendencies, their weaknesses, understanding the momentum of the game, how to create momentum shifts, where momentum shifts come from. So when you do the pre-work, you understand, okay, this team in this situation likes to run a double team from this particular angle. All right, so I'm gonna clear that side out, force the double team to come from a different angle, move myself to a space on the floor where it's gonna take a long time for the double team to come, and now I can circumvent the double team and get to a place on the floor where I can knock down a shot to get to the basket.
There's a story where it's like, no one knows about, where you went and played a game and it was so insane for whatever reasons.
No sleep.
You played a game with zero sleep.
Zero sleep. You got a lot of people paying their hard-earned money to come watch you perform. Perform. It's your job to be in shape. It's your job to be strong enough to perform at that level every single night. And as a competitor, I'm not ducking shit. Like, it's not, oh my God, my back hurts, I'm sore, we got to play Vince Carter and Toronto Raptors tonight. And we had a game against Toronto in 2000, and Vince was tearing the league up. My back was jacked. But like the perception of that, like what? Kobe's missing the game against Toronto and Vince Carter because my back was really spasming. But people will be like, what? Oh, he's ducking Vince. Excuse me? No, I don't think so. So I would be in the layup line like, okay, there's a lot of days where, you can rest and recover. Today ain't one of them. Your back can bother you any other day. That shit ain't bothering me today. He gonna have to see me today. Right, so that was my mental switch. It was like an actor getting ready for a film. You gotta put yourself in that cage. When you're in that cage, you are that character. Put myself in a place where at practice or when I'm training or during games, I switch my mind to something else. I switch my mode into something else, right? For me, it's the equivalent of Maximus Decimus Meridius in Gladiator picking up the dirt, smelling the dirt. It's go time. It has nothing to do with camaraderie. It's stone cold killer. That's when you know you better run.
It's not on everybody else. It's on you. You have to make things happen. Nothing is going to be given to you. this is going to be some serious pain. When you look around at your relationships, at your savings account, at your finances, at your relationships, at your skill sets, when you look at all those things and they're not where you think they deserve to be. You didn't get what you deserve to get. You didn't get what you deserve to get because of that coach, because of that recruiter, because of those teachers, because of your mom and dad. You didn't get what you deserved. There's going to be things in your life that you don't have control over. You know, like for instance, someone gets a terrible disease, or their kids gets a terrible disease, a random disease that's through no fault of anyone. The kid gets sick or the person gets sick. And no, there's nothing you can do about that. What you can take ownership, though, is how you respond to that situation. And so that's what you have to do. There's things that you can control. There's things you can't control. Human beings can control a lot more than they think they can. And oftentimes it's pretty easy just to say, oh, that's not me. That's not on me. And much of the time people say that's not my fault. There's nothing I can do about that. And more often than people think, there is something you can do about it. And it is your fault. Any human realizes that if you want some kind of a good outcome, you're going to have to work hard for it. And if you don't work hard for something, you're not going to get an outcome that's really worth much. For the most part, you're going to run into challenges in life, and if you curl up into a ball and complain about it, that's not going to help you. And if you say, okay, cool, good, here's some adjustments I can make to move forward, that's going to be a better move than cowering. Motivation is a feeling that comes and goes, and it doesn't matter whether it's there or not. Discipline is infinitely more important. So no matter how you feel, get up and do what you're supposed to do. That's it. And that's discipline. It's not motivation. If you only did what you were supposed to do when you were motivated to do it, that's leaving it to chance. But if you're disciplined, you go do what you're supposed to do. That's the way it works. Discipline equals freedom. Oh, and by the way, I can't control myself when there's a sleeve of freaking Oreos. So guess what? I have a rule that I'm not going to have any junk food in the house. And if you're wasting 4 hours a day watching TV, watching streaming services, which is now like putting heroin into your house because you can just tap into it at any time, well, guess what? Now you need to make the rule that you're not allowed to have any TV at all. You're not watching it. You can only watch it on, Saturday from 7 o'clock at night until 10 o'clock at night. That's it. That's all the TV you get. So you need to put rules. If you can't follow the simple rules, the basic rules, then you put more rules into your life. And if you live by those rules, if you have to tighten up the rules on yourself, eventually you realize, oh, my life is a lot better when I don't eat crap. My life is a lot better when I wake up at a decent time every day. My life is a lot better when I don't waste a bunch of time doing things that don't provide me any benefit whatsoever. And if you can live by those rules, your life is going to be better. And what this boils down to is another form of discipline equals freedom. But the aspect of considering, we don't like rules. It's the psychological reactance. We don't like rules. But if you realize that those rules are the pathway to less rules, it will hopefully put it in perspective, make it easier for you to follow those rules. Rules in your personal life that you follow, you don't need that many of them. If you have a rule that says, hey, wake up early, if you have a rule that says work out every day, if you have a rule that says eat clean, if you have a rule that says get your work done, be productive, don't waste time, if you have those rules in your life, you're probably doing pretty good as long as you obey them. Now, if you can't follow those rules, then you need to put more rules in place. You need to be one of those people that sets this thing on your phone where it turns off at 10 o'clock. So you're not wasting time on that. You need to be the type of person that wakes up in the morning and says, okay, I'm not going to eat anything until I get done with a workout. That's my rules. If you obey the rules that are in place, you'll end up with less rules. This is just another form of discipline equals freedom. That's what it is. Very subtle. It's a very subtle thing that occurs. Like the way that the devil maneuvers. And the devil, dresses up like a pretty girl, and the devil does these things that you don't really notice, and all of a sudden you're doing things that you shouldn't be doing, and the next thing you know, it's too late. You're going to hell. The demon is a liar. Yeah. And we can't tell. So what I'm saying is, this is a sneaky thing. This is a thing that gets into your head. Then you got to be careful for it. You got to be careful of it. You got to be careful, because if you don't watch out, you're going to end up not taking ownership of what is going on in your world. It's going to seep into your bloodstream. It's going to seep into your bloodstream, and it's going to pollute your body. It's going to pollute your mind, and it's going to pollute your soul. And you won't know it. Like, chemotherapy hurts. It's terrible when people go through that, but that's what removes the cancer from their system. And you're going to feel some of that. You're going to get what you deserve. To look at someone else that's working really hard and achieving some positive things, and they know that they're not maybe working as hard as they could be, and they're not really achieving what they want to achieve, I'm sure that stings a little bit. You're going to get what you deserve. And it's based on you.
I do believe that we all have something in. Now, are we going to develop it? It's a different ball game. My upbringing was rough, strict, but it can go both ways. It can make you or break you. I decided it was going to make me. But I had to put my dad on the side at one point. I had to put everybody on the side at one point and concentrate to the path. But when you know that the hardest thing that I had to do was to please my dad, the rest was nothing for me. That was so easy compared to what I had to do in order to please the old man. What did it teach me is obviously to never give up, do more. Forget about anything that you can think of. You need to love pain to be an athlete. The animal I became when I was a player. That's a different ball game. That comes with seeing Dennis Bergkamp every morning, working hard. That comes with seeing all those players that want stuff working hard. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, how am I going to move those guys? If you add, obviously, what my dad gave me, never be satisfied, do more. It's always what you didn't do well. You know, obviously I had a certain attribute. I was fast. That's the only attribute I had when I was young. I was fast. You have guys that are technical or see the game or whatever, awareness or whatever. I was just fast. So I had to work really hard. And I know people will say, oh my God, okay, that cliche sentence. No, I had to work really hard every day. My left foot was poor. Header, forget about it. And I still didn't manage to be better during my career. I got a tiny bit better, but I worked free kick. I couldn't take a free kick. Anything.
We beat Middlesbrough, I think 5-0. If I remember well, 𝐶𝐢𝐬𝐬𝐜𝐢𝐬𝐜 scored 1, Dennis Bergkamp scored 2, Overmars scored 2, something like that. I stayed on the bench, didn't come on. Went back in the dressing room, nobody looked at me. You know how it is. Nobody cared, we won, nobody cared about me, you didn't participate, you can't make us win, what shall I care about you? People only care about you when you can, it's a team sport, and fortunately, you know, and I know you can, you know, we can win together, I'm gonna help you, if not, they don't look at you. I looked at them, I was like, man, I didn't even play, how am I going to ask anyone to bring me back to that hotel that I'm supposed to be back when they all live in London? So I went out, I had my Arsenal tracksuit with my bag, and I went to the subway to go to take the Times. Like, it looked like I was a fan. People were like looking at me, but it looked like I was a fan, to be fair, and I was rubbish anyway, so I wasn't playing well, I wasn't there. We just won 5, you know, they didn't see my name on the board. I wasn't, you know, I didn't do anything yet. I go back, and on the train I'm thinking, how can I play? Like, how can I play? How am I going to put Dennis Bergkamp, Jocko Willink, 𝐶𝐢𝐬𝐬𝐜𝐢𝐬𝐜 or whoever on the bench? like, how am I going to do that? And I started to try to beat all of them at everything that they were doing. Everything. So Dennis Bergkamp used to arrive first in training. So this guy won everything already, player of the season. He's there every morning before me. Am I missing a point? He's doing everything, the drills, he does them to the T. Like, sometime I will fuck around, ball comes, you know, right foot, left foot, right foot, left foot. The 9th time you try to flick one, turn around and flick it. Dennis Bergkamp, control pass. I'm looking at him, I'm like, okay. Scores a goal, I used to score 2 and look at him. So then he looks at me back and he scores, and I have to score. Then, you know, I was trying to match them in everything that they were doing. Then after you have to deliver on the field, you have to take that free kick also away from Dennis Bergkamp. You have to take the penalty away from Dennis Bergkamp. You have to take the keys away from Dennis Bergkamp. How do you do that? From not coming on the field. How do you do that? You never won there. He won. He's got there. How do you move that guy? So man, I woke up early every morning and I had to show him the best respect I could pay the guy, show him I was better than him every day in training. The way you eat your salad, I'm gonna eat that better than you. I'm gonna walk better than you. You look at me, I'm gonna look at you better than you look at me. Then he gave me the key. It took a little while, but then he gave me the key. Taking free kicks to nobody, the ball was rolling, nobody goes and get it. Sometimes they used to bring you the ball. I know, bring you the ball. But then it took 2.5 years, 3 years. But I was showing him that he could give me the key every day in training. Like he scores 1, I said to you, I used to score 2. And on walking past him, I used to look at him like this.
You know, repetition is key. Repetition, I always say, creates habit. You know, so I knew I wasn't as gifted as so many players, although I did everything that you're supposed to do. I went to Clairefontaine, I played under 15 in France, under 16, under 17, under 18, under 19, under 21, first team. So people, when they see my path, they always go like, yeah, I mean,
natural.
It was always going to be. No, not true. Not true. I always had to battle. You have to play a game and you have to, you're not here to, you know, oh, you have a problem. Well, let's have a talk about it. You know, when you play, you play. It's tough during a season, it's tough. During a game, it's tough. Okay, where is the party tonight? We're going and everything. I said, I'm not going to no party tonight. He said, yeah, but everybody's going. I said, yeah, but I'm not everybody. Stayed home. He said, why? I said, we have the Euro. I'm going home. Everyone went to the party, I didn't. So understand, for me it was like, hey, I have the Euro.
Just the next thing.
Yeah. So you tend at one point not to enjoy it while you're playing. That was my way. Was it the right way or not? I don't know, but it was mine. So Gail was like, you were crazy. I said, I don't know if I was crazy, but that's how it was. For me, I have the Euro. I need to concentrate for the Euro. So I didn't go. Which sometimes can be seen as a guy that's keep himself to himself or doesn't want to belong in the team. Well, I surely did when I was on the field. For me, that's the only thing that matters. Are you going to cover me? We don't have to be friends after that.
It goes back to what you were taught to value, though. You weren't taught to value party, celebration, happiness. You were taught to value performance on the pitch.
You have to perform. And so I said to you, when you put that cape, that's what is asked of you. People don't care. I don't ask people to care, by the way, because that's how it is. But it's not easy. It was tough. It was tough. You know, I couldn't see my daughter for a little while. You know, and people expect you to perform. You put me on the field, I see solutions. Because I used to see the game with my brain, not with my eyes. You have dimensions on the field. If you put your head up, what can stop you? This is why great players always pass the ball in the air. You know, when they arrive by the box, they lift it. How do you defend the air? You can't defend the air. So I always used to say, like, oh, you can't pass me because they think that the line is there, right? I used to chip the ball over your leg. Of course I can pass you, you can't defend the air. 20 billion people defending me. If you hold the line, ball in behind, you're dead. Not on the ground, in the air. And you see with your brain, you're like, okay, how can oh, I can go through there. Okay, no problem. No. But when it came to competing, I was like, it's impossible that you can stop me. You know, since I'm young, like I see a solution. Like if someone says we can't do this, I'm like, why? You know, I mean, you saw me play. Mm-hmm. Like I used to come in midfield and take the ball and go, I'm going to goal. Mm-hmm. And at a particular moment, anyone will go like, oh, it's impossible. It's 1v9. And I explained so many times, it's not 1v9. It's 1v1. If I beat you, I beat the line of 4. If I beat you, my center back after, I beat the line of 4. Then I beat the goalkeeper. It's 1v1 at the time. So it's 1v1. It's 1v1. Then I score. While I do it or not, it's a different ball game. But I was capable of visualizing the path instead of seeing it's a 1v9. Let me put the ball back. Why are you pushing the ball back? Like, okay, Steven 1v1. I don't care about the 2 guys that are on your side. If I beat you, they're dead. There's nothing they can do. Now you and me after center back. Let's go. I'm not saying, and I didn't go through all the time. It's a lie. But I'm seeing the solution. Is I always thought that titles mattered. And yes, they do. My attention to details comes from the fact that it was always what I didn't do that mattered. So I was always that guy.
At the end of the day, it's about heart, it's about grit, it's about wanting to be out there. A cow and a lion, they feel the same emotions when they're fighting. They're both pumped up with adrenaline. He said the only difference is the lion actually wants to be there.
Just be comfortable being uncomfortable. John, you should want this fight to be miserable. You should want this to hurt. Be the guy who thrives in that. You know, the first person to climb Everest, you know, I'm sure people died. Lots of people died, and respectfully say that. The first man who ran a 4-minute mile, I'm sure he was hurting bad, you know. To be the first person to do anything, you should look like this. I wasn't always confident that I was winning the fight. I was confident that I wasn't going to be giving up or slowing down. Greg Jackson said to me, John, you may need to win this 5th round to win. And that heart of a champion said, no problem, coach. I got that. I can do that for you. I can leave it all out there. You got 5 minutes left. And I think I displayed the difference between a champion and an extraordinary contender. You exercise that warrior spirit. You exercise that little bit of that a lot of people don't have, man. And, you know, when the going gets tough for a lot of people, they look for a way out. There's a little door. There's a door that opens up and says, "This is a challenge here. The easy way out. You can take this fall. You can tap out. You can let them catch you. You can pretend like that body shot hurt and curl up.
And do you want to be here? And at that moment, I was like, oh yeah, I want to be here, and I want more.
But something special happens. Something special happens when it's a time for the champion to present himself. So that makes the victory even sweeter.
Guys can squat more than me, bench more than me, but when it comes to just total strength and muscular endurance and knowing how to pace yourself and knowing how to use endurance, I believe I'm one of the most fit athletes in the game, whether I look like it or not.
Be the guy who embraces the ugly, the miserable. Be the guy who embraces hard work, the grind. Don't be afraid of being hurt. Don't be afraid of sacrificing some blood. It's my job to embrace the toughest challenges. I mean, that's what a champion's being about.
This is combat, this is war, and there's no mercy. I just want more challenges. That's really what it's about for me. No matter what happens in life, if you just continue to strive, put one foot in front of the other, the sky's the limit, and this world really can be your oyster. Years from now, people will talk about me in barbershops about who was one of the greatest hand-to-hand combatants of all time.
The major key to your better future is you. Why would one person do twice as well, 3 times as well? What's the difference? I thought, well, maybe time makes some of the difference, right? Some people do better because they have more time. I used to say, Harold ought to be able to do well. He's got a lot of time. If I had all of Harold's time, I could do well. Now that's got to be dumb, right? Number one, you can't get somebody else's time. A guy says to me one time, he says, you know, if I had some extra time, I could make some extra money. I said, then forget it. There isn't any extra time. Clock strikes 12 midnight, that about wraps it up, right? It's over. There isn't any more time. Value makes the difference in results. You can't get more time, but you can create more value. Is it possible to become twice as valuable if you go to work primarily on yourself? The last 6,000 years reads like this: opportunity mixed with difficulty. That's how it reads. It isn't going to change. The man says, well, if it isn't going to change, how will my life ever change? Answer, when you change. You cannot change the seasons, but you can change yourself. One of the best ways to describe life, it's like the seasons. And see, that's how life gets better for you, not by chance, but by change. You must learn to handle the nights. They come right after days. You must learn to handle difficulty. It comes right after opportunity. How do you handle the coming winters and the disappointments and the downtime? You can't get rid of January by tearing it off the calendar. But here's what you can do. You can get stronger, you can get wiser, and you can get better. The winters won't change, but you can. And that's how life changes for you. See, before I understood, when it was winter, I used to wish it was summer. I didn't understand. When it was hard, I used to wish it was easy. I didn't know. Don't wish it was easier. Wish you were better. Don't wish for less problems. Wish for more skills. Don't wish for less challenge. Wish for more wisdom. Handle the winters. Learn how to take advantage of the spring. Spring is called opportunity. See, opportunity always comes. Days follow nights. Isn't that terrific? Opportunity follows difficulty. But here's what you must learn to do. Underline these two words in that key phrase. Take advantage. You must learn to take advantage of the spring. See, just because spring rolls around is no sign you're going to look good come fall. You gotta do something with it. In fact, you have to get good at one of two things in life: planting in the spring or begging in the fall. Or get somebody to do it for you. See, those are about the only alternatives. Now here's what else you must do. Take advantage of the springs quickly, because there's only a few. Just a handful of springs have been handed to each of us. They don't come forever. Life is fairly brief. So you got to read every book you can get your hands on what to do with your springs while they're here. And take advantage, they soon run out. Take full responsibility for what happens to you. It's one of the highest forms of human maturity, accepting full responsibility. It's the day you know you've passed from childhood to adulthood, the day you accept full responsibility. Not what happens that determines the quality or the quantity of your life. And the reason is because what happens happens to about everybody. No different. The sun went down on all of us last night. A common event, a happening. And I found out that the same things can happen to two different people. One gets rich and one stays poor. Why is that? It's because it's not what happens, but rather it's what you do that changes everything. If anything can go wrong, it will. Sometimes there's no way to figure it out. Sometimes it goes well. Sometimes it gets in a knot. Sometimes it sails along. Sometimes it gets in reverse. See, that's not going to change. Right? Everything can happen. Anything can happen. But it's not the happenings. It's what you do about it. Somebody says, yeah, but you don't understand the disappointments I've had. Come on. Everybody's had their share. Disappointments are not special gifts reserved for the poor. Two men wake up one morning, there's a rainstorm on. One of them looks out his window, sees the rainstorm, and he says, wow, what a storm. With weather like this, they can't expect you to go out and make sales. He stays home. Same morning, the other guy looks out his window, sees the same storm, says, wow, what a storm. But he says, you know what, with weather like this, what a great day to go out and make sales. Most everybody will probably be home, especially the salesman. See, that's the difference in how your life works out. It's not what happens, it's what you do. It's not the weather. I used to blame the weather, and I discovered it rains on the rich. Starting tomorrow, what are you going to do that'll make a change in your life's direction? Good question. What are you going to do starting tomorrow that'll make a difference? Now see, if you don't do something starting tomorrow that'll make a difference, guess what? It's gonna be the same. And see, that way you can guess what the next 5 years are gonna be like. Look at the last 5. Because the next 5 are gonna be like the last 5 unless you, major key, tomorrow, change it all. If you don't like how it is for you, change it. If it doesn't suit you, change it. If it doesn't please you, change it. If it isn't enough, change it. And I challenge you to do that because you can change. See, you don't ever have to be the same again after tonight, only by choice. Get excited over your ability to make yourself do the necessary thing. On any given day, you can massively change the direction of your life, whenever you wish. Now that's exciting. The day he said, today my life changes. Now who can do that? Anybody. When can you do it? Whatever day you pick. Key to discipline. Start with the little disciplines, get excited over the little disciplines, and get right on those, because those will lead to the big ones. You can't handle the big challenges in life unless you take on the little ones. Make a list of all the things you can do, get right on those, discipline yourself for those, both for the results and for the muscle and for the practice, so that when life hands you some big challenges, you'll be ready, you'll have the muscle. But see, if you don't handle the small ones, you can't take care of the big ones. You got to motivate yourself. So it takes self-motivation to really alter your life. And you don't want to give self-motivation away to somebody else and make it somebody else motivating you. The guy says, boy, if somebody just come by and turn me on. What if they don't show up? You got to have a better plan for your life. If you quit, you lose automatically. They don't bring it up for a vote. You lose automatically when you quit. Now, the same thing that goes for your arm goes for your brain, mentality. The same thing goes for all the human virtues. Ambition, unused, declines. Strong feelings, unused, diminish. It doesn't grow, it diminishes. Faith, unused, decreases. It's a law. Vitality unused diminishes. Energy unused decreases. The guy says, well, I'm going to save up my energy. You can't do that. That's like trying to save today, put it on the end of the year. See, you can't do that. They'll come take you away. If you don't use today, what? It's lost. The guy says, well, I'll work twice as hard tomorrow to make up for it. See, that's foolish. You could have done that anyway. Today unused is lost. A talent unused is lost. An ability unused is lost. Whatever you don't use, you lose. Lack of use causes loss. Whatever you do not employ, you forfeit. Whatever you reap is what you've sown. Here's my first suggestion on the law of sowing and reaping. Don't try to beat it. If you don't like the crop, who do you look up? Answer, whoever planted it. And where do you find who planted your crop? Answer, in the mirror. But see, anybody, if you want to, can go searching for a good plan, pick it, and start working it. And sure enough, as the time passes, as it surely will, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, then you'll be winding up wearing what you want to wear, driving what you want to drive, living where you want to live, become what you want to become. But now's the time to fix the next 10 years. And who can? Anybody. Here's the big challenge of life. You can have more than you've got because you can become more than you are. That's the challenge. And of course, the other side of the coin reads, unless you change how you are, you'll always have what you got. See, 10 years from now, you will surely arrive. The question is, when?